In this video, we'll go through the process of finding an image to transfer and resizing it and printing it for your advanced drawing and painting transfer project. In the PowerPoint, it mentions several different options for you to transfer, and up here I have a Google search bar open. One way I found to find kind of cool vintage looking text and diagrams that work well as part of a transfer painting is to go through the Google search engine to find patents. So if I just type in here Google patents, Google will give me a search bar that they have designed to sort through old diagrams if you want to go that route. Here I can click the type of thing that I'm looking for. So if I want to find an old diagram of a piano, I can type that in and hit search. I can refine my search over here if I'm not finding what I like. I found that older patents, I like the drawing and the writing a little bit better than newer ones, so I can type in the search fields here before 1900. I could say before 1960 or really any year, and that will change what comes up. So it does take a little bit of searching, but you can find some kind of cool imagery if you want to use it. This piece looks kind of cool. I'll click here. Or up here. If I just click on, let's see, if I click on the grant here in green, it should bring up the PDF. There we go. So this particular patent has a lot of different drawings, and maybe I want the writing, maybe I want the drawing, maybe I want a little bit of both. If you know how to use Photoshop, it will greatly help you through this process. If not, you can keep watching and I'll show you some quick tips. If this looks like something that I want to use, I'll hit download and then I will save it. I'm just going to save it to my desktop here and say transfer painting PDF, and I'll save it. So this is one route you can go. You can also go to Google Images and then type in if I want to find a map, I can use those keywords to start. So I'll say vintage or old map of Minneapolis. Let's say I wanted to do a painting of Minneapolis and have a map transferred in the background. I want to start looking for maps as much as I can that are large in size. So I can go to settings here, or I'm sorry, tools. Go to size and then say large. And as you can see, some of these maps have a little bit more contrast than others. The more contrast, so the background is bright white and the writing is black or it's a dark color, the more initial contrast a map has, the less that I'll have to do in Photoshop. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. I'll choose this one and show you how I can fix it a little bit in Photoshop. I don't want to right click here to save the image because that's just going to save the thumbnail size, so I'll hit view image over here, right click, say save image as, and I'll say map for transferring, and I'm going to save mine to my desktop. You should save yours in your student folder. I'll find the images that I just saved on my desktop. You want to make sure that you're working on a computer with Photoshop. The Media Center, some of the Media Center lab spaces have Photoshop as well as my two computers in the classroom. I'll right click the image, say open with, and then choose Adobe Photoshop CC. If that doesn't come up, you'll go down and say choose default program, but it's registering on mine. I'll open this map up here, and let's see, I'll drag it off so that I can see my, here we go. Drag it off so that I can see my Photoshop taskbar up here as well as my tools. Your tools may be placed on the left-hand side. That is the where Adobe puts them as a default. So I have my image here. To zoom in and zoom out, I'll hit Control minus and Control plus if I need to change my view size. The first thing that we need to do here is flip the image. So I'm going to find my Layers panel. I see it right here, but if I don't see it on my right-hand side somewhere, I'll go up to Window and then go down to Layers. I notice here that my layer is locked. I'll double click that lock key and it'll turn it into layer 0. I'll hit OK, and now this allows us to make changes to our base layer, which is what we'll want to do. If I hit Control T, I'll get a bounding box around my image here. Within that bounding box, so with my cursor somewhere in the midst of my selected image, I'll right click, go down to Flip Horizontal, and then hit Enter. This creates a mirror image of my original map, and we want to print this way because once we flip it over to transfer, we will be left with a regular image on our painting. So this is the first step. We've flipped it. I want to go Image, Image Size to check the size here. Resolution you want at 300. That's good. If you download an image that is 72, make sure that you change this number to 300 and say OK. The next thing I want to do is crop this to 8 inches by 10 inches. You'll be using 8 inch by 10 inch canvases for this project. So I'll hit the crop tool right here, and a bounding box comes up here. If I look at the top of my screen, it says 10 inches by 8 inches. You can also flip that if you want to go the other direction. It doesn't matter. But I'll move this over to where I want it. I might click and drag to scale up a little bit. I want to make sure that I have everything that I want to transfer in my painting in this highlighted box, and then I can double click. I want to make sure before I print that Photoshop has sized this correctly. So I'll go one more time, Image, Image Size, and the dimensions are correct, or the proportions here are correct, but I want to bring my width up to 10 and my height changes to nearly 8. This is nominal. It's totally fine if it's 7.9 or 7.95 or 8.01. Doesn't matter as long as it's very close. I'll say OK. That will resize my image. And now we wait. And I may have to zoom out a bit, Control minus. One thing that I'm noticing, if I want to get the best transfer possible, I don't want any of this mid-tone or like off-white color. That will print as light gray, and then that light gray will transfer onto my artwork. I just want the gel medium to pick up the dark areas. And I don't want to be left with kind of a gray cloud over my painting. So there's a few things that I can do in Photoshop to change this. I'll go to my adjustment layers. I'll drag these up here. If you do not see this, go to Window and then go down to Adjustments. Click on that, make sure that there's the check mark, and then you'll find them. I'm going to click on my brightness and contrast, which is the little sunshine, and a layer will pop up on my layers panel. I'll want to bring up the contrast here, and a lot of times that will do a good job of making the darks a little darker and then the lights a little bit lighter. I can bring up my brightness a tad bit, but I want to be careful of doing that because if I bring up the brightness too much, it's going to get rid of some of this fine detail that I actually really like. I'm going to click this middle button right here for black and white to show me what it will look like when it prints. It's a slight difference, but we do only have black and white printers here, so it's, I think, important to see what this will look like as it comes out of the printer. I'm going to save this document. I'll say File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as a JPEG because I don't want to make any changes to this. I've gotten it to where I want it. I'm fairly confident that I won't go back in and change it, so I will save it as a JPEG. Say OK. And the final step here, I'll hit File and then go down to Print. You want to make sure that you pay attention to this step so you know where it's printing. And this is showing an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. I know that this is printing to 8 inches by 10 inches because it's slightly smaller. If this looks a lot smaller or a lot bigger, you want to hit cancel and then go back to image size to resize your image. I want one copy. And if the layout looks funky, so if you know you resized it to 8 inches by 10 inches, you have a landscape-oriented picture, but it's still being cut off, make sure that you've hit landscape here, and vice versa if you have a portrait image, which is taller than it is wide, make sure that you're clicking print to portrait orientation. When you're ready, you would select Media Center. You'd print one copy. You would hit print. And that would be it.